6 p.m. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Kanooz Ashraf. First, the headlines. Prime Minister says the government will do everything at its disposal to project Pakistan's positive image abroad and highlight its agenda of reforms before the public. Foreign Minister has welcomed international recognition of Pakistan's efforts for peace and stability in Afghanistan. British Airways has decided to resume its flights from Pakistan after a pause of 10 years. Amnesty International has demanded a thorough and independent investigation into the massacre of civilians by Indian forces in Pulwama district of occupied Kashmir. Chinese president has vowed to push ahead with its country's reform and opening up, but warned that no one can dictate what China should do. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan has said the government will do everything at its disposal to project Pakistan's positive image abroad and highlight its agenda of reforms before the public. He was talking to Minister for Information and Broadcasting Chaudhry Fawad Hussain, who called on him in Islamabad today. The Prime Minister said present government fully believes in freedom of expression and is in favour of critical role of an independent, vibrant and responsible media socio-economic development of the country. Imran Khan reiterated that the government will facilitate media in every possible manner in discharge of its professional obligations. The Information Minister briefed the Prime Minister about matters pertaining to his ministry and the reforms being carried out in state media organizations, including Pakistan Broadcasting Corporation and Pakistan Television Corporation, to make them efficient and effective. The Prime Minister, while reposing full confidence in the leadership of Information Ministry, desired that Information Ministry should play a leading role in all matters related to media. Meanwhile, in a tweet, the Prime Minister said Pakistan has helped in the dialogue between Taliban and the United States in Abu Dhabi. He expressed the hope that this leads to peace and ends almost 3 decades of suffering of the brave Afghan people. The Prime Minister said Pakistan will be doing everything within its power to further the peace process in Afghanistan. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has welcomed international recognition of Pakistan's efforts for peace and stability in Afghanistan. In a tweet today, he said Pakistan has and always will work towards establishing peace in Afghanistan and building a more connected, prosperous neighborhood. Information Minister Chaudhry Fawad Hussain says Pakistan's image in the world has improved as a result of government steps in foreign policy and economic sector. Addressing a function at Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industry today, he said Pakistan's relations with the United States are improving. Information Minister said the United States has thanked Pakistan for facilitating negotiations with Afghan Taliban. He said China-Pakistan Economic Corridor was previously focused on infrastructure, but now it is being expanded with the inclusion of agriculture and other sectors in it. Information Minister said steps have been initiated against corruption and money laundering. British Airways has decided to resume its flights from Pakistan after a pause of 10 years. This was announced by the British High Commissioner to Pakistan, Thomas Drew, while addressing a press conference along with Advisor to Prime Minister on Commerce Abdul Razak Dawood and Special Assistant to Prime Minister on Overseas Pakistan, Syed Zulfikar Abbas Bukhari in Islamabad today. Speaking on the occasion, representative of the British Airways said the flight operation will be resumed from June next year. Abdul Razak Dawood and Zulfi Bukhari welcomed the British Airways decision. While thanking the British Airways for reviving its flight operations in Pakistan, Director General ISPR Major General Asif Ghafoor in a tweet says the dividends of decades-long struggle of Pakistani nation and its security forces for restoration of peace and stability in the country are on the way. Chief Justice of Pakistan Mia Saqib Nassar has called on President of Turkey Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Konya and highlighted the special love and affection between the people of Pakistan and Turkey. President Erdogan also expressed his warm sentiments from the people of Pakistan and welcomed the Chief Justice to the city of Maulana Rumi. Earlier, the Chief Justice held a meeting with President of Turkish Constitutional Court, Professor Dr. Zavtu Arsalan in Ankara. During the meeting, the two sides exchanged views on legal and judicial matters of mutual interest. Both sides agreed to further strengthen institutional collaborations between the highest courts of the two countries. This is Radio Pakistan. President Dr. Arif Alvi has said Kashmir is an unfinished agenda of partition. Talking to former AJK Prime Minister Barrister Sultan Mahmood Chaudhry in Islamabad today, he said Pakistan will continue to extend moral, diplomatic and political support to legitimate struggle of the people of occupied Kashmir. He called upon the international community to play its due role in stopping these grave human rights violations and resolving the long-standing Kashmir dispute in accordance with the resolutions of United Nations Security Council and the aspirations of people of Kashmir. Dr. Arif Alvi said Pakistan is desirous of forging friendly relations with all countries, including its neighbors. He said Pakistan wants resolution of all issues through dialogue. The Senate today unanimously passed a resolution strongly condemning the recent wave of repression and violence committed by the Indian security forces in occupied Kashmir, including the direct shooting at demonstrators in Pulwama, claiming lives of a number of innocent Kashmiris and injuring many. The resolution moved by Shiri Rahman stated that no journalist, foreign tourists, and humanitarian organizations are being allowed by India to enter the occupied Kashmir. It said the continued atrocities by Indian occupation forces can never suppress the just political struggle of the Kashmiri for the legitimate right of self-determination. Amnesty International has demanded a thorough and independent investigation into the massacre of civilians by Indian forces in Pulwama district of occupied Kashmir. The program's director of Amnesty in India, Asmita Basu, in a statement called for prosecution of the troops responsible for the carnage in a civilian court of law. Former Indian Supreme Court Judge Justice Markande Kachu, reacting sharply to the killings in Kashmir, compared to Indian Army Chief General Bipin Rawat with British General Dyer and said the Indian Army Chief has started killing civilians in Kashmir like General Dyer did at Jallianwala Bagh. Chinese President Xi Jinping has vowed to push ahead with his country's reform and opening up agenda, but warned that no one can dictate what China would do. In his speech marking 40 years of reform in Beijing today, he said the great banner of socialism has always been flying high over the Chinese land. Russia, Iran, and Turkey are meeting in Geneva today to discuss new Syria Constitutional Committee. Diplomats said the three countries are close to agreement on composition of a Syrian Constitutional Committee that could pave the way for drafting a new charter followed by elections. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has supported Saudi Arabia's statement denouncing the U.S. Senate's recent position, rejecting any interference in its internal affairs and any attempt to undermine its sovereignty. OIC Secretary General Dr. Yusuf bin Ahmed Al Hutami, in a statement, reaffirmed that Saudi Arabia represents a collective voice of the Islamic nation and has a special place in the Islamic world. And finally, the weather report. Mainly cold and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country during next 12 hours. However, dense and shallow foggy conditions are likely to continue in few central and southern parts of Punjab during morning and night hours. To end the news, some of the headlines once again. Prime Minister says the government will do everything at its disposal to project Pakistan's positive image abroad and highlight its agenda of reforms before the public. Foreign Minister has welcomed international recognition of Pakistan's efforts for peace and stability in Afghanistan. British Airways has decided to resume its flights from Pakistan after a pause of 10 years. Amnesty International has demanded a thorough and independent investigation into the massacre of civilians by Indian forces in Pulwama district of occupied Kashmir. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com Radio Pakistan News Official.